Hello, hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Tarot is Ridiculous. I am your host, Leeza Robertson, and if you do not know me, I'm guessing you know my work. I am the creator of the Mermaid Tarot, the Animal Totem Tarot, Cirque Du Tarot, and Soul Cats Tarot, and tons and tons and tons of tarot books. So if you do not know me, I'm guessing you've got one of those. Today on our ridiculous ride into the world of tarot, coming at things sideways, backwards, and up the front, is my wonderful guest, Chanda. Thank you so much for being here today.
I'm so happy to be with you. Thanks for having me.
Now, tell us a little bit about you, because I think you might be pretty new to a lot of my listeners. And how did you get into tarot?
Yeah, so I'm Chanda Parkinson, and I have been, a tarot reader. It feels like about 100 years, but into the late 90s was when I was first introduced to the occult, to tarot, to astrology, metaphysics, animism. Yeah. And I never saw myself doing it as a profession, but as sometimes happens, I was undergoing a bit of maybe an existential crisis or going to graduate school. I had lost some family members. I was really discontented with what I understood about the afterlife and what the nature of being a soul and a spirit and a human body was all about. And I just dove headfirst into metaphysical studies, esoteric studies, and I utilized tarot and astrology at the time. A couple of lovely humans took me under their wing and acted as mentors for me to help me understand the world of tarot and the world of astrology. And I just was hooked at that point. I was hooked. I never thought I was going to do any of it professionally. It was a passion. It was a side hobby. It was something that every once in a while I'd pull a deck of cards out and do readings for other people. So I did not anticipate. My background is in the arts and administration, and I thought that was my path. I was going to be an executive director of an arts organization. My professional path was set, but as things go, sometimes you get led and called and pulled into a direction. And so I took it more seriously in the early 2000s and created a business. And I've been doing this work with people ever since. Yeah.
Wow, that's great. I love hearing everyone's tarot story or their path into tarot because it is so vastly different. And I think there are just so many myths out there around how people come to this work, how they use it, how they incorporate it into their life. So I love hearing all the different stories, and that is fantastic. I love that this was actually a personal journey for you. Like it was almost like a reconnection to life and self
Yeah.
rather than anything else. And I've got to ask, did it help?
Oh my gosh. It was like, do you know when you're so hungry or you're so thirsty for something, but you don't realize or you don't know what can quench the thirst? I didn't know what was going to quench it, but there was something slightly off about my spirituality and my beliefs and how I structured things, and I was hungry and thirsty for something, and tarot kept quenching my thirst, and meditation kept quenching my thirst. And but the interesting thing about the late 90s is that you didn't like hop online and take an online class, you know what I mean? So like I had to go to physical shops and walk in and be like, hey, does anybody know anything about tarot, or where can I get books and decks? And luckily at the time, our major booksellers had them in stock occasionally. But coming from a small town in the middle of North Dakota, there wasn't a whole lot of options. So I decided that I was going to dedicate part of my practice to helping others kind of come into their own skills, talents, and gifts and abilities through psychic development and tarot and using meditation. So that was kind of the impetus for my writing, was putting out there a way that people solo could have a tool, something to learn with on their own. If they couldn't find or didn't feel comfortable going into a group experience to learn, that they would have something that they could use on their own. So that was kind of like the reasoning behind writing the books.
Which we have right here, Meditation and Tarot. This is a fantastic book. Now, can you explain to me the decision to not include the minor arcana in this book?
I'm going to be honest, it was more a decision on my publisher's side than it really was at
Okay.
mine. So we knew we were going to have to keep it to this could have become a, this could have become a, 300, 400 page book, easily. But this was meant to, focus more so on how to work with each of the suits rather than, each individual card. So that was a compromise. It was a compromise between me and my publisher. This could have very well been a, 300 to 400 page book, like I said. So they weren't, they weren't interested in that, and that's okay. I think it works well. Also, I feel like the major arcana are, there's additional weight or emphasis on those cards when you do tarot readings, and I'm a writer, I'm a good mentor for beginners. And so I also feel like this book doesn't overwhelm people. It's like it gives them enough of a taste of how to incorporate meditation practices with the cards, emphasizing the major arcana in this particular book. Maybe the minor arcana will come in a different book. I don't know. But to have one meditation or things to think about with the suits, either pentacles, cups, wands, or swords, having one meditation or one like kind of set of thoughts to process through those. Yeah, I think that was the kind of the foundation for this particular book.
I totally get Llewellyn's restriction. Like you're preaching to the choir on this one. But okay, so now I understand. Because I remember going through it being really excited to do a meditation on one of the minor, and I'm like, hey, wait a minute. And I was like, I bet you there's actually a really logical explanation for
It
that.
was
Now that you're
super
like,
practical, super
yeah, and
practical,
now that
very
you're like,
logical.
no, it was Llewellyn, I'm like, yeah, okay, I totally get that now. So we're going to actually jump into this book a little bit through one of the cards, and you picked our card for us today. Which card did you pick?
I picked the Magician.
So tell us why, and then
Yeah.
let's dive into how you dealt with that in the book.
I had to really understand the Magician as it relates to my own life, my own self. I'm a Gemini. The Magician is ruled by Mercury. That's my astrologist hat. So I always work with astrological correspondences with the cards as well. And so I have a deep, tight connection to the Magician, but it's also a card that shows up a lot in my life. And I also feel that oftentimes, the cards have both a light, kind of a light side of the spectrum, and they also have a darker side of the spectrum. Everything, I think, in metaphysics has a light and a dark aspect, and we can lean into the light or the dark side of those cards. And I feel like, the bright light side of the Magician is utilizing all your skills and talents and resources and to the fullest, and the darker side of the spectrum is getting a little lost in very mercurial things, like constantly being a student. I'm a student. I learn, I read, I'm constantly absorbing books, knowledge, and so it's like, wait a minute. We've got to get out of that zone of the learning process and actually learn how to alchemize or work with what I'm learning. And so I've had to wrestle with that inside myself for so many years. Where do I stop with the learning process? Because I would spend days in my cards and books and not come out of my house. But I love them. I love the Magician.
Only days.
I think well, okay, that's not fair because I'm gonna have to get groceries and let my children to school, but um yes, I love my cave. I love going in to into depth with my studies, and I'm constantly learning. So, but applying willpower, concentration, like the book says, um, and in some tarot cards, the magician is represented by the crone. And so I love that because I feel like I'm on the bridge between mother and crone right now as I enter into my
Mhm.
50s. And so she's teasing me, like my own inner crone is kind of teasing me right now. And so I feel like a depth and realm of intimacy, deep intimacy with this card, like almost as if it's becoming kind of like my um an ally or a guide to help me through this phase of my life. Yeah,
Like a personal spiritual archetype.
totally, totally. Yeah. And the magician being sort of a midwife of the soul, also recognizing their own magic, depending on what deck you're working with, and what you personally believe. It's a powerful force. It's a powerful force. And I like this card. I like to remind myself, oh, it's not all my tools. It's, the power is held within me. The power is within me to create and to alchemize and combine and merge all of the things that I'm working with. And so it's just a really great grounding card for me.
It's almost like it sets us up for the initiation too, doesn't
Mm.
it? Like it's the preparation for initiation that comes with the high priestess.
Yes. That's an excellent, and I just got goosebumps when you said initiation. Absolutely. And you can go back because we're not initiated only once, right, throughout our
Right.
lives. It happens multiple times, depending.
Sometimes several times a day, depending on
Yeah,
what kind of week you're having.
exactly. Very true. Oh my gosh. Yeah, but like manifestation, I know that's a very popular buzzword. It's a popular term. I think a lot of people are more familiar with that. This is an excellent card for reflection and study when you are, and to work with, and magical practices when you are looking to manifest something big in your life. And if you don't feel as confident in your own capabilities to manifest, this card can lend so much support and structure and willpower, reminders, working with the magical forces of the universe. Yeah.
I love how you're so sweet about this card. I always think of this card as some dude who goes, "So glad you're here. Here's all your gifts and talents," throws them at us and goes, "Good luck with that."
Good
Like
luck.
that's how I see the magician. It's kind of like, you know what? You're wonderful. You're made of stardust. You're beautiful. You're brilliant. You're really naive at this point in the fool's journey. Here's all your gifts, talents, and blessings. Have fun.
That can also happen. I feel like I'm less intimidated by that, honestly, because I've been a solo witch and a solo practitioner for so long. Solitude, I am not adverse to um, diving off the deep end into a realm of capabilities and new gifts and new things to work with. And so I find excitement in that. I know some people may
I was
not.
gonna say that makes you a bit unique though, doesn't it?
I think yeah, there's an odd or eccentric part of me that is like,
So
okay.
maybe we should preface this by saying your relationship to the magician might actually stem from your relationship with stillness and solitude.
That's right. And I think you're spot on. You're spot on. And being thrown multiple times off the deep end into new awareness and new gifts, talents, skills, tools, whatever it may be that's coming at me. I will
Do you
dive.
imagine if like the fool and the
Yeah,
magician were like
yeah,
the portal that we just kept jumping through? Like the fool pushed us through one end and the magician just
yes.
threw us straight back to the fool and then we went back again. Like
Oh my gosh, do you find that exciting? I kind of do. I kind of love it.
Like, I feel like that might have been my whole year in 2022, but it's like, but I do often think about the major arcana as being like these portals, like, and we could
Yes.
be like, depending on what
Mhm.
decisions we make, like a choose your own adventure of the fool's journey means
Right
that we could be
on.
catapulted like back this way or over here or down here or across here, like. And I
Oh,
was just like, while you were saying that, I was like, that feels like an infinity loop between the fool and the magician.
it totally does. And I would like to say, by the way, before I forget to mention, I love your Mermaid Tarot. It was one of the decks that I chose to be highlighted in this book.
I saw that.
Yes. And so people should know that too, that like your deck is highlighted. And it helped me understand you as well a little bit. Like, okay, maybe it's not a representation of you necessarily, or but like the watery and representation and the water element in that deck, and how beautiful and how it tends to appeal to my like most sensitive clients. When I do tarot card readings, I'm like, which deck should we work with? And the ones that choose the Mermaid Tarot are usually going through something super emotional, tender hearted, very sensitive, processing that they're going through something really big or really deep. But anyway, I don't know. That was a total tangent, but I wanted to say that um, because that deck has taught me so much. Like I tend towards the magician fool loop, because
Right.
I get excited about those processes, but like the Mermaid Tarot is helping me also like um learn how to balance my own inner water energy. I only have one planet in a water sign in my astrology chart. And so that zone is not super comfortable or familiar with me. So anyway, I
If
took a
you do you
and
have the book that goes like, so do you have the book?
I
Because
have I have your deck and I have the book.
you
Yeah,
have
I
the book
have
too.
the book.
Okay.
Yep.
So I was gonna say, like, speaking of publishers making decisions for you,
Yes, yes, yes.
when when I wrote this book, it was not meant to link to the deck in any way, shape, or form. It was meant to be like the next level, like how
Yeah.
mermaids go into
Mhm.
place, how we deal with the
Yeah.
water stuff.
Mhm.
And I handed in, and they're like, "Oh, well, we have to make it work with the deck." And I was like, "Of course we do," because that was the one thing I didn't want it to do.
You didn't want to do.
I
Yep.
didn't want it to do. But
Yep.
yeah, like this for anyone who has that deck and has had a similar experience to Chanda, this book will actually deepen that experience just because of the way it's written. So if you're interested in going further with the mermaids, and that was not a shameless plug on my behalf, it was just
Oh my
additional
gosh. It
information.
should be. It should be a shameless plug on you because it's just I wanted to mention it because people who are fans of yours will enjoy seeing your cards come up in the book. So anyway.
So we're just about out of time. I
Yep.
want to know, are you doing teaching with this book? What are you doing
So
as for
yes.
others to come and dive in deeper with your work? Because you just
Yeah.
sound amazing, and I think everyone should be learning from you in one way, shape, or form.
Gosh, do you know what I'm super passionate about community education. I have been, teaching tarot in communities around my state and in Wisconsin for the past, oh gosh, except aside from the pandemic, although we did go online. So I'm teaching, I teach all year long. Saturday mornings, I do a beginning tarot class all around, kind of around my area. However, I do private mentoring as well. Sometimes people, again, like me, who didn't want to get together in a group, would rather have somebody one-on-one to lead them through an orientation and also help them learn the tarot through the lens of like their own goals and their own interests and their own desires and how they want to work with the tarot. So like if you're somebody who's totally intimidated by this as a tool, I'm great for beginners. I'm great for like lifting the spook factor. So it's not as an intimidating. 78 cards are a lot to learn, but there are really great ways to learn about it that don't have to be overwhelming. And so I primarily focus on journaling and intuition building, developing relationship with tarot cards, having them become like allies, pals, and friends, or like you said, sometimes instigators. No, not necessarily adversaries, but sometimes they can instigate, depending on the cards you draw if you're not ready. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so, but those are in person. Like my community ed classes are, I'm deep in community here in my neighborhood and and around the area, but online learning and um, tarot reading and learning about tarot can happen at any point, for those that are interested.
And we have your site in the show notes so they can go there, correct? And they can
Yep.
find out all about your wonderful
Yep.
magic. All
Thank
right,
you.
my dear, thank you so much for being
Oh my
with
gosh,
us.
thank you for having me. It was wonderful to meet you and connect. I'm a fan. I'm a fan. So thanks for giving me the chance to connect with you. I appreciate it.
All right, everyone, that is our show for this week. Now, in the month of June, we are going to be diving in to a Pride special for Tarot is Ridiculous, because in all honesty, you wouldn't have 80% of the decks you have without the queer community in the tarot realm. So I am going to be spotlighting some queer authors who are not me, even though you should have me on your list. But I am going to be spotlighting some creators. We're going to be doing some Pride shows. So join us in June for Tarot is Ridiculous Goes Over the Rainbow. All right, everyone. Thank you and see you next week. Bye for now. Okay, I'm going to have to edit this bit out. Where's the recording? I can't find it. Turn the recording off. Oh,
So if
there
you
it is.
go down to more, I think.
No, it's disappeared.